This is indeed not an AA meeting. This is just one member's view on the exact nature of the wrong as described on page 64 of the big book. Paul, today I would like to talk about steps 6 and 7. So on page 59 in the big book, we have all the steps lined up. And I think it would be a good start to just read over 6 and 7. Number 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. I've heard you speak on these steps and that these steps were the steps that you pursued for the longest after completing the steps, or that they continued. But on the other hand, I've heard you speak on losing interest in self, and the self comes with those character defects. So I'm just interested in hearing at what point in time is it relevant to just lose interest as opposed to keep focusing on these defects of character and keep omitting them in a way by surrendering them to God. And a B-side to that question would be, who's the one surrendering these character defects? And I'm gonna pause there.
Let's not
Thank
go
you.
there because of let's keep it in the realm of action figurehood. Yes. So the second aspect of who is it, let's not go there. We have the other meanings for that. Yes. Yeah. So the first one is, when do you know, when you lose interest in self, the downloads that of this power, as they say in A Vision for Us, this power is going to constantly reveal stuff to us. Well, a lot of the stuff that's revealed is what you're not, which is this idea of selfing. Yes. So doing step 6 and 7 as an activity may become lesser and lesser, but it's still there. When something like twinges your gut or you feel a little discomfort, you can recognize that the system, the self-centered system, has been threatened. That's a very good time to look at it and bring it to step 6 and 7. So, yeah. So you're not looking for self, you are observing the expression of selfing. Yeah. Yeah. Because that same propaganda channel is still on. Yeah. It still has, it's broadcasting and it's playing God. Yeah. Now you've lost interest in it playing God, so its effects of while playing God have become minimized. Yes, you're not going to jail for 3 years. You're not trying to say you're sorry once again to your wife after you acted out and cursed her out or whatever. Yes, this stuff has been minimized. So right now it's just broadcasting the playing God station, but it's not playing God that much. Yeah. So, and when a little is revealed, it's a whole part of the lot. So, you just bring, if you're moved to, you bring it when it comes up, when you recognize it and you're recognizing it not from it, you're seeing it. You're seeing it from somewhere else. You bring it to step 6 and 7. You go, hey, I'm entirely ready. And this is a prayer of the action figure. This is not the sound of the absolute. Yeah. The prayer of the action figure is, I'm entirely ready for this to be removed, because it can't remove it. Yeah. Because it's stuck on it. It's like what's stuck on the fly paper and the fly paper are almost the same thing at some point. So it's still in that sense of reliance on a higher power, and it will probably stay that way as the action figure. So it brings it to step 6. It says, hey, I'm entirely ready to have this, which I'm just seeing before it erupts into an event, to have this removed or reconfigured. I believe energy can't be destroyed or created, but it can be reconfigured. It can take a different form. And I believe the alchemy of recovery is taking the old form of self, how it self presents things, and having it reformed by the higher power recognition. Yes? So this is the whole point to me of 6 and 7. Now, have I done a 6 and 7 in a couple of weeks now? Probably not. Yeah. A lot of times when I do them to this day is when I wake up from a dreaming at night. Yeah, because the dreaming at night usually has a theme. And one of the themes that I have seen in most of the dreaming that I remember is that I'm somewhat okay, and then everything goes crazy, and my bicycle tires turn into squares, and I can't remember where I live. And I used to have money in my pocket, and I don't, and no one's offering me a place to stay. This stuff. And so when I wake up from one of those typical dreams, I bring it to 6 and 7. Yeah. Now I haven't woken up for one of them in a while. And then sometimes after you've been aware of it, you're awake while you're dreaming and you may just say no to it. Yeah. Because you've been on that ride many times. You just refuse, you just don't go there. And then the dream takes a left turn. It does. Because you're the dreaming, literally, of the dream. So that's how I see it. The second thing about who is there to surrender and to what, that's that's more appropriate at another platform. Yeah, because it's enough to get this message through to people in recovery. You run into enough resistance. You don't want to bring in that there is no person or whatever. It's just a, yeah, because it's the person that wants to get better. The no person doesn't care. Yeah, what you are doesn't care about what you're not's condition. It really doesn't. This is what I've discovered. Yeah. I used to believe that the God's condition in my life was based on my condition, but no, now I feel, let's call it God. God's condition in my life is based on God, not me. So no matter how I feel, it doesn't matter. That availability of the higher power is readily available at all times, right where I am, with no requirement necessary and no requirement in what condition I'm in. I'm not a believer as you have to have it to give it away. I believe if you're willing to give it away, you have it. Yes, that's how I see it. Yep. So I'm not in agreement with every way they say everything in the big book. Who cares? I'm just a humble member. But I do not believe you have to have something to give it away. I believe if you're willing to give it away, you're going to have it. Yeah. I've heard some incredible wisdom from a person who's been sober for 3 days. Do you think it was their wisdom I heard? Of course not. Yeah. But wisdom came through. Yeah. Because they were willing. They weren't at the fucking drug den, they were at a meeting. And at the drug den, that wisdom would have been evaporated in a second. In the meeting, it was put to use. Yes, this is the difference. So 6 and 7 became very, very important. And it was the most active steps I was doing after the years, after a certain amount of years, because what was constantly being revealed to me was what I was not, which was this, first of all, we use the term self, but I only use that term self because it's the AA way. I don't believe the selfing has ever made a self. I believe selfing implies you are already something that you're never going to be. I'm going to say that again. The selfing, when you're listening to it, implies you're something already that you're never going to be. Yeah. So listening to the selfing is what conjures up the idea of self. Self is not selfing. There is no self doing selfing. Selfing implies that there's a self. There is no self doing selfing. The selfing, which is a mental activity, is implying there's a historical self. Be very clear about this, because if you're not, you're going to, when you see selfing, you're going to get guilty about being the one doing the selfing. Yeah. And then you're going to have a new, instead of, oh, it's your neighbor that's bothering you, it's now selfing that's bothering you. That is not what I'm talking about. Yeah. You're not doing it. Selfing is implying you're the doer of a lot of shit you have nothing to do with. Now, that's what starts getting revealed, how much shit you actually have nothing to do with. Yeah. So when this power is constantly revealing itself to you or stuff to you, it doesn't categorize the stuff, does it? There isn't an addendum at that statement in the book, and you go to about an 8-page portfolio of how what it's going to download. It doesn't describe the download, does it? It just says this higher power is going to constantly reveal stuff to you. It's not telling you exactly what the stuff is it? I don't think most sponsors are going to tell you what the stuff is. You're going to find out. And for me, what I found out most of the time, what it revealed to me was the selfing aspect of the self. Instead of self trying to stop selfing, I saw selfing is what's implying there's a self. Yeah. So the whole time thing shifted. Yeah. Instead of the historical Paul stopping selfing, I realized there was no Paul. There was just selfing. Yeah. That's how I see it. I see there's a verb, and then the noun is conjured up, and then the noun is presupposed to be the doer of the verb. I don't see it. I don't believe that. Yeah. I believe it's a mental trick. I don't believe it's actually true. So we use the word self here because we're in the platform of recovery. That's why I don't want to say there's no doer. It just doesn't work. Yes. So we are. We're just going to speak on a certain action figure level, where in most cases, as an action figure, it's probably better not to try to go find the origin of the misery, but just to surrender to a higher power. Make a decision, and after you do the working steps, that decision will have some boost and some oomph in it, and you will actually turn the reins of your life over to something greater than self. Yeah. And then you'll see how it works after that. And I've been under that control for 36 years. It's a pretty damn good deal. Yeah. Do I want to take over the wheel? No, I don't. Because as a passenger, there are things it doesn't go to. As a driver, it will be there in a second. Yeah. But as a passenger, it's severely limited. Once it gets on the wheel, fucking shit can hit the fan. Yeah. Now you believe that you have made yourself the passenger condition. I don't believe that. I believe there's grace in the passenger position. And that one who thinks they've made themselves the passenger, if they grab the wheel, they're going to act like the driver. Yes? So their great spirits condition's probably going to go out the window in a couple of days. Yeah. Yeah. I've watched it. I've watched people who are fit of mind and body, and after 20 years of sobriety went out. Yeah. They suddenly became the driver while they were driven by this fucking thing. Yes. And some of them ended up taking their own lives who were very close to me. Yeah. So if you have been removed from being the driver and you're now the passenger, and you start thinking you're the one who made yourself the passenger, and you start thinking you can drive again, when you put your hands on the wheel, things that you thought would never come up as the passenger are going to come up. I have seen people who were solidly sober, and now they're in a meeting and they cannot believe they want to drink. They're sitting in the meeting and there's the urge to drink that they had been freed from for maybe 18, 19 years. Suddenly it was back, and they couldn't wait for the meeting to end so they could go out. Yeah. Now they thought, if they thought they had produced the passengerness of their life, they were supremely surprised when they started to entertain certain ideas, and especially if they drank, because they did not make themselves a passenger. Grace gave them that position. And now they grabbed onto the wheel, and now the driver condition arises. And they're super freaking surprised that they're once again driven by something. Yes? Our condition isn't our condition. We have been placed in a position of neutrality. We have been placed. We did not make the position of neutrality, and we're not maintaining the condition of neutrality. We've been placed in that condition of neutrality based on a fundamental principle. Something is the director, we are the directed. Yes? Keep that very, very clear. Because once you think you're the director, you're going to be driven by something you're not going to be driven by as the passenger. I hope that is clear. It's clear right here. I hope I can communicate it. So, selfing, there is no self. You weren't even born as a self. You were a baby, had no idea that there was others or anything like that for months and months and months. The brain had to assimilate a situation and present this storyline, and then back it up with an incredible radio show called K-Paul. And then we've been listening to that station, and we are the ones who are imagining all the thing that the station's implying. The station cannot make a self. We're living as if we are one. Yeah. That is the bondage of self. Truly. Yeah. The bondage of self is reinforced by selfing. Yeah. The self is not driving you crazy. It's the selfing that is used to drive you crazy. There's not even a you driven crazy. There's just driven crazy. But this is subtle, and this may not be available to everyone this second. Yeah. So yes, steps 6 and 7 in my experience has been quite revelatory concerning what I am not, what I have never been, and what I never will be. I was just assuming I was, and I was living as if I was, and I was worrying as if I was going to be this thing in the future. I relied on a mental condition as a mental condition, and it proved completely unreliable. And I ended up washed up on the shores of AA through grace, and I was introduced to a way of life to keep me as the passenger and not as the driver. Yes, hallelujah. It's worked. Yeah. Now you can get fake gas pedals and brakes and put a steering wheel on there, and to everyone it looks like you're the driver. You just need to know you're not the driver. That's all. Yes. You may be directing tons of other people as a job, but at that time of directing everyone, you are being directed. You're clear about this. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I think I got it right. So the 6 and 7, to me, when we started to have a conscious presence as the higher power, we could start seeing what we're not. Just like the 4th step is a way of seeing what has defeated us by looking at our role in things. Inevitably, sooner or later, you're going to see the disease's role in things. Yeah, because for many of us, our role and the disease's role is synonymous. We're identified as the disease, so we're taking its manifestations as ours. Yes, that is an intensive care condition. Now, over time, we take this idea of surrendering our will and life over to the care of something greater seriously, and then we get established there, and then now we see a lot of shit that used to drive us to drink. We see it and we're not driven by it. And that's what we tell the truth about. And we can tell the truth about it through step 6 and 7. Yeah. I'm entirely ready to have this shit reconfigured, and I ask this power to do so. And considering the same power I'm asking to do that was the power that I completely believe in that struck me sober. So I have a lot of faith in this process, and that faith travels to step 6 and 7. And it's like putting out the garbage. I have faith that the garbage man comes on Wednesday morning. So Tuesday night, I put out the garbage. I do not stay up all night looking out the window and thinking, is he or isn't they coming? Are the garbage men? No, I don't. I have faith. And then when I walk out, the garbage cans are empty, and I didn't even see the garbage man. And I didn't need to see the garbage man. I see the emptiness of the can, and I know the garbage man came. Yes? I have no eye-to-eye evidence I saw the garbage man. I saw the can empty, and I recognized the garbage man came. Yeah, this is to me what it's like here. Yeah, you asked for this stuff to be reconfigured, and it is. I mean, I had a knot. You don't mind, or do we want to have questions now? I'm going to go into a personal thing for 5 minutes. I've gone before. I had a knot in my personal relationships where if I was very interested in somebody, sooner or later I got extremely suspicious that they were gonna fuck with me, yeah, by abandoning me or something. It was a deep mental groove, and it really caused a lot of havoc in my life before and after sobriety. Before sobriety, I would just get loaded and really act out and really put my foot in my mouth. And I seemed to have no power against it. And at that time, I would not have an emotional hangover because I was loaded. But when I got sober, I had a hope that maybe that stuff had been removed, but it wasn't. And it would trigger, and I would act out soberly. It wouldn't go to such extremes, but the emotional hangover was severe because I couldn't take an aspirin called alcohol. Yeah, I couldn't, distract myself. And those things really taught me something. I don't want to go through this anymore. Yeah. And I saw the correlation to my acting out and the emotional hangover. And so I couldn't, but this one thing I couldn't get over. And I even went to therapy, which I was not a believer in, for like 5 times. And I would pray and I would do this step 6 and 7, but I usually would see it in the aftermath. Yeah. When the storm was building, I just took fucking shelter, and it just overwhelmed me. And so one night I was with this woman, and usually the shit would hit the fan on holidays for some reason. So I had this, and it was New Year's Eve, and I was with her, and then I started to want her to prove how much she liked me with a conviction that she failed already. Yeah. So here I was, and I storm out of the apartment. I didn't want to storm out of the apartment. I want to stay there, but I acted out. I stormed out of the apartment, and I left, and immediately I got in the car. I called her to re-engage. Yeah. And then I went up for round 2 to have another fucking big argument about fucking nothing. And I was just there, and I was ready to blow, and something moved me. It was unbelievable. It was fucking unbelievable. For the first time in this pattern of experiences, the storm subsided before and there was no wreckage. Yeah. She had no idea what she had missed, this lady. Yeah. And the back of this thing finally was broken. I was 11 years sober. It took a lot of years, but 11 years. So sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it materialized. Yeah. And I've never had a strong acting out ever again. Yes. It comes up occasionally, but it's never been like it had been. I mean, I was just trying not to have any relationships. That was the only solution I could have because I knew if I really liked them, I was going to blow up. Yeah. And life was not allowing me. I would keep getting introduced with another opportunity to have this whole thing reconfigured, but I would fail. And then this one time it worked, and it changed everything. It was amazing, eh? And then I could start that inability to have a viable relationship with another person was broken and changed and reconfigured. And it had a lot to do with step 6 and 7. And the closer you can get the shit out of the oven, the better. The forensic unit has some value, but it's dead by that time. If you can catch it while it's cooking up and bring it to step 6 and 7, I think there's a lot of power there. A lot of alchemy power. I do. Yeah. So it's nice when someone explains why they're fucked after they've been fucked, but they're just going to get fucked again. But it's much nicer if you can catch it and bring it right to 6 and 7 when it's hot, so to speak. Like we had dog shit awareness, yesterday. My dog took a shit right before the meeting. And so I got the bag and I didn't know dog shit awareness had a quality and that it was warm. So when I threw this shit out, it was still fucking warm because I got it right out of my dog's ass. Yeah. This is sort of like what it is. Yes. You don't want to, you want to get that quality. It has a heartbeat and then give it to the thing and it'll be a different kind of birth. Yes. Yes. So I'm a real believer if you're in the active process of the program, 6 and 7. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't see it as not you, you're going to keep being identified as what's being revealed to you. And it's not you. That's the point of it finally being revealed to you. Yes? Everything that's revealed to you usually is taken to be me. And if it's uncomfortable, I try to ignore that. But it's not you. So you can do a fearless and thorough 6 and 7 with it. Yeah? Yes. All right. I think that captured it. We have Walter from the Netherlands waiting impatiently.
Yeah, well, you just explained something what happened to me. You know, exactly in a relationship. Uh, I also try to stay out of it, and something happening, and there I see something old pattern coming up, and so on. I didn't freak out, not at all, and I didn't try to figure it out, and so on. So no one is to blame. I just surrender it. I don't know what is happening here, you know.
Yes.
No harm is done, you know. Actually, it's uncomfortable. I don't know what it is. I don't know who is to blame, you know. I can go into an argument with a lady who has tons of sobriety and is surprised about it, uh, and I just don't know. I surrender it. And I didn't, and it is funny. I don't know if I'm doing the things correctly, but I see a lot of times from, hey, on this particular point, I would have gone out drinking, you know. Or if this would happen, you know, I would have gone drinking before, you know. And I just have to giggle about it, and I try not to go thinking about it, analyzing it, or whatever, you know.
Yes.
And,
Yes. Good.
and
Relief is the key. Yes. Like
yeah,
when it's authenticated by relief and that which was appearing is not appearing anymore. I mean, there's no need to have any more examination. I mean, how long does it take for someone to realize a person's dead? Yeah. Yeah. You feel this or the pulse. You don't have to go, let me move his big toe or shit like that. Yeah. It's obvious. So this
yeah,
is becomes
and I see
obvious.
and I see some people just fall away, you know, just drop away, you know. I don't want to deal with these people anymore, you know.
Yeah,
I walk
well,
away,
that's your
you know, from
prerogative.
I walk away from situations, and I don't want to go there, no.
Yeah, that's called wisdom, bro. That's good.
Oh, this is a good sign. Well, thank you, man. I love the story from your dog shit. It happened to me when I was still drinking. Oh, picking up the dog shit, terrible.
Oh man. Well, avoiding it is worse. I mean, my strategy when I came in was revealed that the way I didn't deal with old shit was by making new shit all the time. I couldn't
Yeah,
take any
yeah,
time to get to the causes of things because I had new effects every fucking day. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a weird strategy.
I did exactly the same, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly, you know, and then the physical shies started to happening, and then this, and you solve this problem, and then this. unsolvable, and only at actually at the point from, yeah, well, I don't know, Mary, help me. I don't know. I just don't know what to do
Yeah.
now. You know.
Great.
And
Great. Yeah.
unbelievable, that I physically a lot of things recovered was medical. It was unbelievable, impossible. I didn't believe it myself, and then that's what when I gave up. I didn't
Great.
believe I could come out of the shies. I thought I would die or something like that. Not committing suicide, but this ain't possible.
It's great to be how wrong you can be is great.
Yeah,
It's
and going
not
to
bad.
meetings, mostly I even didn't hear what people were saying, half psychopathic, and I just avoided the problems.
Yes, I know, bro.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I like you, because we know.
I know. I mean, luckily, it's just amazing we survived to the point where that could be changed, because it was, I mean, all my strategies were completely bogus. Yeah, they're not mine, but the way the head came up with how to live life, if my right arm was bleeding, it would just look left. It wouldn't even, that's what it would
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
It would just
yeah.
spend always looking left because he didn't want to deal with anything. Wow. So, hey, anyone else?
Thanks.
Thank you, Walter.
I don't see any other hands up so far. If anyone has a question.
You remember the action figure, when it gets to the rarefied air of asking, am I an action figure? That answer doesn't come from the action figure. It comes from what you are already. Yeah. Spirit. Yeah. The action figure has a certain level or a ceiling. It can't go that much farther. So the action figure believes it has free will. So do the next right thing. The action figure believes it starts and ends as a body. So the idea of trying to tell it it's not a body really doesn't work. Yeah. What hears that it's not a body is the spirit, which is not a body. Yeah. And then you get an agreement. Something in where you are agrees with these understandings that are over the head of the action figure. And so this to me is the effect of the spirit on the action figure, not the action figure fitting itself around the spirit. Yes. So the action figure, have you really, there's a great statement in our community, self can't get out of self, which explains a whole lot. It's an incredible statement. And if you look at self as this idea of being a thing or whatever, the doer, the haver, the winner, the loser, this idea of being a long lasting, independent, separate thing, self, that's the idea, cannot imagine, it cannot stop trying to get out of self. Yet the conclusion, not in self, but from observing it from our spirit, the conclusion of many of our members was self can't get out of self. Do you see how beautiful that is? Because they realized that what they took themselves to be cannot get it. It cannot get the fact that even the evidence is that it has no managerial quality. It just assumes if it could just manage better, everything would go well. It's not going to fucking learn. Yes. Self is not going to learn. It can't get out of self. Hallelujah. Something knows that, and that something is where we are, but it's seemingly covered up or unsuspected, like an inner resource, or going on without us knowing it. And the program brings us into a conscious contact with that unsuspected resource. And now we see the action figure not as the action figure. We see the action figure from spirit. Yeah. And there's a whole different exam that goes on that's done in a field of acceptance, really, not hate and this has to end and stop, but really a certain acceptance of a mechanical nature of the programming. Yeah. So when you put drugs and alcohol in me, the programming that I'm in, I'm going to do whatever I can to keep putting drugs and alcohol in me. Yeah. The idea that I was the doer of that and I'm responsible for that doesn't hold water in me anymore. It just doesn't. Yeah. I did all my amends. I did a 4th step. I did a 9th step as thoroughly as I could. And you're not going to tell me I was the doer of that shit I did while under the influence. I just don't see it. Yeah. So after taking responsibility, I found accountability. And I feel what has defeated us is foreign to us. I do not believe it is you. Yeah. Could you imagine all the sins you felt as a host if you realized they were manifestations of a parasite in your life? Wouldn't that bring about a great relief from all those sins and shame and all that? Wouldn't you believe that would trigger a possibility nothing else did, which is I can be free from this shit? Yeah. This is what we're sharing, is to see the nature of what has defeated us as foreign to us. Yeah. Because if you see it as not you, you can be free from it. You can. If you keep trying to be free as it, it's self trying to get out of self. It doesn't work. Yeah. And we have this platform to go over this and over it and over it, because who knows when it's going to hit us. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the whole point, or this is the trajectory of the platform we're having, is to find relief from this bondage of self. And maybe by describing the exact nature that's allowing this bondage to continue on and on and on, it will trigger a possibility that as a self is not going to get triggered. All self tries to do is tries to be free as self. We're asking to be freed from that bondage of self, of trying to be free as self, and to recognize we're inherently free from self. Yeah. It's not our nature that has defeated us. It's a foreign nature. Yeah. It's readily available. It's actually supported many places in the book, and we just want to emphasize those and maybe have a new view of this program that has helped so many of us, and maybe allow a more stabilized condition that the problem does not exist for us. Yeah. And to realize that condition is not based on us. It's based on what we truly are already, which is spirit. And so why not, if the problem does not exist as you, why wouldn't the problem not existing for you stabilize? Of course it can stabilize. I've had years and years and years where this problem is not a problem during the day. Years and years and years and years and years. Yeah. The problem does not exist for me. This is not unusual. It's readily available. Just need an understanding of what has defeated us. And all you need to know is its nature is foreign, and its activity is mechanical, literally. Yeah. It's mechanical. When there's doing, it says you're the doer. When there's thinking, you're the thinker. When there's feeling, you're the feeler. When there's this, you're this. Yes. It's like a machine that punches holes in paper. Yeah. It just keeps punching holes in paper. That's what it does. The head plays God. You did not play God. You've been played by something playing God. Yeah. The head plays God. It still does. Yeah. But now it doesn't have the godlike juice to make an incredible flamboyant hellscape on your ass, which it probably would if it could. It's minimized. You're not listening to it as a GPS. You don't fucking take its opinions highly and everything else. It's pretty much completely neutered in most cases for us. Yeah. And of course, it bothers us because it drives us crazy, but it's not driving us to jail anymore. Yes? Yeah. So we could sit and just be grateful for the leveling or the diminishing of this condition that is so pronounced in us that for many of us, the problem does not exist for us anymore. That's insanely huge. Yeah. Oh, but I still have problems. Yeah, so does everyone else. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to get great. Yeah, I know you did. But how you saw it was already conceptualized and formatted. It wasn't revealed to you. Your mental forecasted it. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't say all your wants are going to be met. Your needs are going to be met. Yeah. Have your needs been met today in sobriety? Were your needs being met when you were out there getting loaded? No. It's delivered the goods. It promised something. That's what it said. Right. Do I have a feeling that I'm taken care of? Yes. Did I have a feeling that I wasn't taken care of? Yes. Yeah. And if I feel like I'm not going to be taken care of, what do I try to do? I try to take care of myself. What fucking happens? I start listening to the head. What happens then? It leads me places I don't want to be. What happens then? Inevitably, I'm going to act out. What happens then? Well, probably have a drink sooner or later. Uh, there is a solution. Yeah, many of us are in it. Fantastic. Yeah. Let that solution shine through you. The greatest, what we are speaks louder than what we say. Yeah. 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 All right. Anyone else?
We have a hand up from Aileen. Come on in, Aileen.
Eileen from New
Hi,
York.
hi, Paul.
Hey.
I,
Oh, from Long Island?
no, it's Staten Island.
Staten Island.
I've
Oh,
seen you on I am from Long Island, but I've seen you on Staten Island
yeah.
a few times. Would you consider when you're talking about the spirit,
Yes.
could that be something that could also be considered like the higher self? I know you
Yeah.
said, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Just long as it's other than the present occupant.
And would that self be the lower self then, the present
You can
occupant?
call it that. Yeah, if you like. However, whatever word triggers a sense of possibility and relief, use that word. Yeah.
And
Yes.
I have to tell you, I have the worst garbage service. They send me a text almost every week saying, "We are sorry, due to unforeseen circumstances, we will be not picking up the garbage today." They do, they do that so often that I think they should send me a text to tell me when they're really coming. But
That's
that's,
right. Oh, see, there you go. Yeah. This is what happens. The garbage man can even, yeah, can be the wolf in sheep's clothing. Yes. 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 Well, yes. If there's when they use the word new employer, it implies there was an old employer. Yes. And so, yeah, I don't mind using lower power and higher power just to create a comparison, because this is how the head works. The head, the good and evil, it works this way. So you use how the head works to an advantage, let's say. So yeah, that's why I like to call it a parasitical movement. So most people have a huge fear of parasites. especially when you used to travel. The first thing you wanted to have checked out, do I have any parasites? All the while living under a parasitical movement. So to be able to image that which has defeated you as foreign to you is definitely opens up a possibility of being free from it. Yes. Yeah. I don't care if it's true or not. It's just a trick you can use. In this case, I believe it's true, but it doesn't matter. You know, just like a placebo can trick a person to think they took a real medicine and get the same results. Yes. Mind is a very powerful activity. Yeah, you can slip something in. If it looks at like two pieces of bread and something in it, it'll take it to be a bologna sandwich, and you can slip something else in there, like prosciutto. And by the time it's eaten it already got the prosciutto in there. So I like the idea of demonic possession or all of those things, because that's how people felt when they were under the influence. Yeah. It was like something, and that was a true description, really, like something other than themselves came in and used them for transportation. Yeah. That imagery is really capturing the activity of what has defeated us. Yes. Yeah. You remember when you were a kid, you had those posters of like somebody. For me, it was Don Juan picking peyote and Jimi Hendrix on the wall. This way you can have in your little mental wall demonic demons and parasites, so you can remember you're not that. Yeah. Whatever, however it works, you know, use every trick in the book. To trick yourself into okayness. Yeah. Something talks you out of okayness, so you can trick yourself back into okayness. Yeah. Something talks you out of it all day. So it's not like you haven't been affected by magic tricks already. You've been played upon by a magic trick all the time. We're just trying to turn the trick on it, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. See how it feels. uh, yeah. All right. Anyone else? Oh, we have Mike M. Mike M from the LA area. Come on
Hey,
in.
Paul. Thank you. I had an experience with the dream thing and then taking it to 6 and 7. And the dream is my neighbor came by. He's like, hey, we know you stole our flat screen TV out of our garage. My father saw you. The dream was very real because, as we've spoke about, I've had this long history. Well, it had a long history of stealing and burning things down. And the first thing I said to the guy is, well, you don't have a garage. And the dream ended. Like that was the end of that dream. And whatever the next one was didn't matter. But when I woke up, there was this thing that was like, well, you know, you've always been a thief. That's why you're having these dreams. And I was like, no, that's not the truth.
Yes.
I've not always been a thief. You know what I mean? This thing moved through me in very destructive, scary ways that could have had me killed or thrown in prison for a long time. But it really is it. And then I thought about what you said about doing 6 and 7 kind of upon awakening with other practices, obviously. And I had an experience with that this morning, and it was so amazing that, like, even in the dream, I was like, no, you don't even have a garage. Like the guy was telling me I stole something out of his garage. And this is my neighbor who lives like right next door to me. So I guess what I'm saying is this thing again trickles in even when I don't know it, you know, learning, even though I don't even know I'm learning.
Yes.
And I love that. And thanks for sharing the stuff about the relationship. I think I definitely needed to hear that and really catching this stuff while it's in the mixing bowl, basically, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
once you're right, once it's in the oven, man, it's very difficult to combat that. I feel like the mind really takes over and it becomes a full-blown obsession about whatever or
Yeah.
whoever. And at that point, it's very difficult to turn out of that, man. So I like
Well,
the
you
idea
know,
of catching it
we're gonna
before.
make stuff up. We're like a mixer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so we want to hopefully keep relying on the new mixer that's putting all the ingredients in the mixer, that rather than the old mixer. And then
Yes.
when we see the old mixer trying to slip some shit in, we bring it to 6 and 7.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. That's
because
great,
it
man.
will. It will try to put some in the drink, but every day we're making, we're makers. Yeah.
Yes,
And it's
exactly.
making up stories, it's making up events and experiences. It's just going
Right.
on and on and on. But what's running the show? Who's the director is the important position. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. As we have found out the hard way. Yeah. So this is the beauty of it. And for many of us, the basis is sobriety. And on that basis, there's the reliance on the higher power. And they're almost the same at the moment. Yeah. So
Right.
the sobriety is just a given. You're not drinking or using. And then the basis of what you're making all day and or how the cakes come out is based on the chef. Yeah.
Mm.
A chef that has struck me sober and kept me sober. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a nice way to go as an action figure, because obviously when the action figure wakes up thinking everything is on it, it flips out because it has a strong feeling that it's not up to the task.
Mm.
So that which is trying to manage knows it's not a good manager. It just won't admit it, but it knows it. So that creates all the anxiety when it has a day to manage the show. Yeah. When
Yeah,
you're in good hands, you know that you're in good hands. Yeah, it
so
pulsates.
true.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the other thing you said, which I really love, and I used to think that this was another form of denial, are these kind of like parlor tricks that we do that seem to work at certain times, where it's not denial, it's just not wanting to go there because we know the results of going there. And it's just like these little tricks, these little things, like you said, like I like to look at where my feet are at and like kind of wiggle my fingers and my hands just to get out of that thing that's telling me I should be somewhere else or something else should be happening, or again, getting obsessed on some person, place, or thing. So I believe all those little tricks can work to kind of
At
bring
times,
me
yes, at times.
at
It's just
times,
like this.
exactly.
If you're driving down the hill and your brakes go out, yeah. And back then you'd have the stick brake. If you pull it up slowly, yeah, and play around with the gas, you could come to a halt. You don't have to pull the brake, the parking brake. You just, you know what I mean? I used to do
Yes.
it all the time in San Francisco. I had an old beater of a Toyota truck, manual, and every time I had to stop at a stop sign on one of the hills, there's no fucking way I could get into gear quick enough. So I would
Right.
put into the parking brake. And then while I'm pushing it, getting into first gear, I'd let the parking brake go. And that's how I drove. Yeah. That's it. I had to do it that way.
Right.
If I just took my foot off the brake and I couldn't get into the gear fast enough, I'd start rolling downhill. But just playing, and now they don't have those brakes, but now you can play with the brake, and that's how I survived in San Francisco with a beat up Toyota pickup. Yeah,
Right.
those are tricks, obviously. Yeah, yeah. So, uh, anyone else?
No more hands up.
And we have a beautiful situation here because on certain days, like on Tuesday, we have a recovery meeting, and then in the afternoon we have a non-duality meeting, which is it's a companion piece. It can be very nice. It can work really well. Yeah. You don't want to replace one with the other, but with a combo, it's quite nice. Yes. So we're not presenting non-duality as an answer to recovery or addiction. We're presenting both, and both sort of appear at the same time, but in a different frequency. Yeah. So it's a trip, but it's really cool to have the possibility of doing that. Yeah. So Tuesdays I look forward to at times, because Tuesday there's the recovery and then we do the non-duality. And of course, the non-duality is the great solution. But when you're suffering from something here, it may not be a working solution. It may be a way to get out of something that you're not in. Yeah. So it's weird. So I feel, yeah, take care of the elephant in the room, and then you can really sense the space of the room when it's not filled with this elephant. And that's the non-duality, is that space. Yeah. Whereas who is there to surrender and to what and all this? Yeah. Yeah. But the head looks at everything and tries to take advantage of it. So if you're out there using and you don't want to do anything like recovery, non-duality, wow, that means there's no me that's using, so you keep on using. That fucking strategy doesn't work. I've seen it. I've seen a lot of drunk non-dualities, non-dualists. Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, I'm going to start saying goodbye. Martin, thank you for running the show and everything else. Thank you very much. Michael Stacy, as always. Axel, our man in Germany. Chris in Olympia, Washington. Joseph, France. Nice to see you, Chris. Walter, Netherlands. Will. Oh, they're Will, not looking like Wendy. I can recognize him. Roman Mueller.
Good to see you, Paul.
Nice to see you, Will. Roman Mueller. Mickey. Our greeter. Rico, a man of his word. Eileen in Staten Island. Well, I grew up in Rockville Center there, Eileen. Yeah.
Long Beach.
Yeah, Long Beach. I grew up most of my life in Long Beach. Yeah.
Wow,
At the beach. Yeah.
me too.
Yeah. Kathleen. Nice to see you, Kathleen. Phil. It's a pleasure. Kerry. Mika. Chris, and we got at that already. We have Jason and Ben and Jules on vocal. Fletch. Rob S. Let me go to the next page. Yes, I think we got Kerry, we got phone numbers, Jason, Miss Folkman, Brian C, Rob S. I think I got everyone. Hey, thanks. Thanks for participating in a loving presence expressing itself through our group conscience.
Hey,
Thanks,
Paul,
Paul.
I have a quick question. I did my inventory list or whatever you call it, and I was going to talk through it with someone, but I haven't been able to figure out who that needs to be or who I would need to contact.
You can contact me.
Okay, because I got in touch with David Bitterman, but I haven't gotten a reply yet, so
Yeah,
just wanted to
talk with
if I could
Mike.
do that. Okay, cool. Mike, can you give me what's your Facebook info or whatever you want to give me? That's fine.
I'll DM you right now.
Appreciate it.
I'll stay on
Okay.
after the meeting.
Oh, great.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
There we go.
Thank you.
Oh, there was
Bye.
Oliver from Berlin. I didn't see him. And he just came in, and I think if I didn't get you, we sense your presence. So, all right. We'll see you soon. Tomorrow, Saturday is 1:00 Pacific time, Zoom, and it's a live meeting here at our house. All right. Thanks. See you guys.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service, Martin.